The morning I saw her again, the town was still half asleep. A thin frost covered the rooftops, and the air tasted like salt and ire. I stood outside the cafe on Harbor Street, my breath clouding the glass as I watched her through eclair. Leaning over the counter, her laugh barely audible through the pain. It had been 2 years since I last saw her. 2 years since the word terminal became a quiet ghost in my medical file. I had learned to live around it, like a rock in a shoe, always there, never gone, or a reminder with every step. She looked different, but in a way that hurt. The kind of change that comes from surviving something, not from happiness. Her hair was shorter, her shoulders straighter, but her eyes still carried the same hesitant light I used to love. The one that always looked like she was halfway between staying and running. When she turned and saw me, her smile faltered. Not out of dislike, I think, but out of disbelief, like the past had just walked in wearing the same coat it left in. "Evan," she said. My name hung between us, so like a question neither of us wanted to answer. "Hey," I said, forcing a small smile. "Didn't expect to see you here." She laughed softly, a sound both familiar and foreign. "You still say that," she replied. "Like life hasn't been waiting for you to catch up." We stood there, two ghosts pretending to be ordinary people on a cold morning. The barista called her name. She picked up her cup, still looking at me like she was reading the end of a book she'd already finished once. "Do you have time?" she asked suddenly. "Maybe we could talk." I hesitated. My body felt heavier than the air around us. Talking meant remembering, and remembering meant wanting, and wanting meant pain. But I nodded anyway. "Yeah," I said, "I'd like that." We sat by the window, our reflections trapped in the glass, layered over the gray of the sea. Her hands wrapped around the paper cup, searching for warmth that wouldn't stay. "Have you been?" she asked. I could have told her the truth, that my nights were filled with hospital corridors, that I counted time, not in years, but in medication doses. But I just said, "Good, work steady." "You?" She smiled faintly. I moved back. Needed a slower kind of life. I wanted to ask why now, but some questions aren't fair to ask when you've already decided to disappear quietly. Outside, the frost began to melt, running down the window like small rivers. She followed the movement with her eyes, and for a moment, she looked like she was somewhere else, somewhere warm, somewhere safe. "Do you still write?" she asked. "Sometimes, I lie." The truth was, the words had stopped coming the day I learned how short everything would be. "I used to miss your letters," she said. "They always sounded like you were writing from a place I'd never been." I looked down at my hands, veins pale under the light. Maybe I was. She didn't press. She never did. That was what I loved about her, the silence she carried, the way it let me hide inside it. When she left, she touched my shoulder gently. "You look tired, Evan. Take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded, smiling again, pretending it was nothing. But when the door closed behind her, the cafe felt emptier than before. I sat there until the frost on the glass disappeared completely, until there was nothing left to blur her reflection. That was the morning I realized, sometimes love doesn't end. It just gets quieter until one day, you mistake it for breathing.
I keep a notebook on the kitchen table, the way some people keep salt. Within reach, ordinary enough to ignore. It's the cheap kind from the hardware store, the cover pretending to be leather. I started it the week the doctor said the word manageable, which, as far as words go, is a hope wearing comfortable shoes. Tonight, the house sounds like it's trying not to be noticed. The refrigerator hums. The radiator clicks. The sea outside keeps breathing in its sleep. I sit with the notebook open to a blank page and write at the top, rules for staying. 1. Tell no one. 2. Leave quietly. 3. Love her like it won't end, but plan as if it will. The third rule is a contradiction. I copy it again just to see if it changes anything. I used to write for the feeling of doors opening. Now I write to close them, to keep the wind out. My pen scratches a steady line. I list the pills I took today, the ones I skipped, the lie I told to the pharmacist when she asked if I wanted a longer supply. Traveling, I said. She smiled like I had somewhere good to be. At 9, I make tea I won't finish. At 9:15, I read the printout again. I keep it folded in the second drawer beneath the cooking spoons. Like an emergency, you can stir into something else. The numbers haven't changed. That's the worst thing about numbers. They never remember the grace of a good day. I try to think about normal things. Trash day is Thursday. The landlord wants the porch light fixed. The Gulls have learned the bakery schedule and riot on the hour. I am a man with ordinary problems. I am also a man wearing a countdown like a second skin. When the phone vibrates, I flinch. A message. Claire, if you're awake, no pressure. I just wanted to say it was good to see you. I make myself wait before answering. I learned that trick from her. The delay is a kind of tenderness. It says I'll come to you without rushing, so I don't bring my fear with me. Me, you too. Coffee tomorrow? Same place? The dots appear, vanish, reappear. Claire, yes. Around 10? I set the phone down like it might bruise. Then I cross out the first rule and rewrite it slower. Tell no one yet. A memory edges in. The doctor's office, the polite lighting, the smell of new plastic. He spoke in careful stares, each sentence a step he watched me take. We can manage symptoms. We'll monitor progression. Quality of life is our compass. Compass is a brave word for a map with one road. Is there someone I should call for you? He asked. My landlord would want to know about the porch light, I said, because humor is an old coat that still fits. He waited. I did not say Claire. I did not say anyone. After I walked the long way home past the marina, the boats were sleeping in their slips like well-fed horses. A kid was teaching his little sister to skip stones. They counted the skips out loud like casting a small spell. I thought about how none of us really knows when we're making a last time. We just do things one more time until one more is gone. Back at the table, I turn to a new page. What Claire doesn't need to know. The exact name, Latin, tired, the scan like winter weather over a coastline. The taste the steroids leave, metallic and stubborn. The morning the pharmacy bag ripped in the wind and I chased my future across Harbor Street. I stopped there. Hiding is work. The body knows it. My shoulders ache with the effort of appearing easy. When we were younger, Claire said I cataloged life like a museum guard aware of everything, touching nothing. She liked to touch. Shelves, fabrics, the bark of trees, my wrist bone. It makes it real, she'd say, as if reality needed help. There's a picture in a box in the hall closet. Summer. We're both sunburned, grinning into a wind we can't see. I'm holding a paper map. She's holding my elbow to keep me from walking into traffic while I'm reading it. The caption she wrote on the back says, "Don't learn the city, let it learn you." We were the kind of people who believed in phrases like that. Now I believe in refills and calendar reminders. At 10:30, I take inventory. 3 refills left. 4 good days this week if I'm careful. 2 letters drafted to nobody. 1 from my mother that I will not send. 1 for a future that does not answer its mail. The kettle ticks as it cools. I close the notebook. Bedroom windows, 1 inch open. The night comes in disciplined and salt bright. I lie on my side because it hurts less that way. The ceiling is a plain geography. I count cracks like miles. Sleep is stubborn. My body keeps tugging at the loose thread of the day. Near midnight, a car door slams down the block. Somewhere a dog answers. Somewhere else a song lifts out of someone's kitchen, older, slow, the kind with a chorus that believes you. I think of Claire's voice when she said my name, the part of it that put the past in the room with us. I promised myself I would not become a man of scenes, but it is hard not to turn the day into something framed. This morning, the way her hand hovered over the sugar jar, then changed its mind. Afternoon, my porch steps holding the sun like a warm coin. Evening, my face in the bathroom mirror, the way it looked like I was practicing goodbye. I get up, open the bathroom cabinet, and rearrange the bottles even though they don't need it. Order is a superstition. If I can line things up, maybe I can keep the wind from knocking anything over. On the mirror, there's an old sticky note from a year I still believed in calendars. Breathe here. I press a finger to the glass where the words are. The note has lost its yellow and turned the color of something almost remembered. Back in bed, I let the phone glow on the nightstand. I don't open it, but the light steadies me. Proof of a tomorrow with coffee in it. Before sleep, I break my own rule and pray to nothing in particular. Not for a miracle. I don't trust the math of those, but for precision. Let me be exact in the small things. Let me be kind in the way I leave. Let me make the days I have look like days, not warnings. And if inventory can include wishes, let me have a morning where Claire laughs and forgets to be careful around me. Let me carry that sound as far as it will go. I wake before the alarm. The sea is already speaking in the blue hush. For a second, I forget the list. I am just a man in a cold room, reaching for socks, deciding between the dark sweater and the darker one. The window shows a strip of horizon like a breath held between teeth. On the table, the notebook waits. I add a line before I go. 4. When love asks for the truth, tell it, but not before it asks. I put on the dark sweater. I choose the scarfless version of myself so she won't suspect. Keys, wallet, inventory of breath. I open the door. The morning steps in. I step with it. Coffee at 10. Rule 3 in my pocket, stubborn as change. The street smells like bread and tide. Somewhere ahead, a bell rings, and I imagine it's the cafe door opening, and the day, for once, getting my name right. The next morning arrives like a favor I didn't ask for. Light slips through the blinds, gentle but indecisive. I sit on the edge of the bed, the world still half-formed around me. The air smells like rain that never quite happened. I tell myself to stand. It takes 2 tries. The body keeps its own calendar, and mine is turning pages faster now. By the time I reach the cafe, Claire is already there, same corner seat, same wool coat, same habit of stirring her coffee, even after the sugar dissolves. She looks up, and for a second we fall into something that isn't past or present. Just breath. Just being. Morning, I say. You look better, she says, and it almost makes me laugh. Better than what? Yesterday? Last year? The inside of an MRI machine? I smile anyway. Lies sound less cruel when spoken softly. We talk about safe things. The town fair returning after 3 years. The sea freezing near the docks. Her new job designing book covers for small publishers. She says she misses painting. I tell her I miss sleeping. We both laugh, but only one of us means it. When she leans closer, I notice a faint scar along her wrist. It wasn't there before. I don't ask. She doesn't notice me noticing. Maybe we've both learned to protect our silences. Outside, children run past the window, their boots leaving brief galaxies of snow. I want to tell her everything, that the nights are getting longer inside me, that the pills are starting to blur the days together, but the words won't behave. They stay heavy in my chest, patient and cruel. Do you ever think about leaving? She asks suddenly. It's not about the town, and we both know it. I think about staying, I say. That's harder. She studies me. Her eyes look older, not from years, but from knowing. You always make simple things sound like poetry, she says. Poetry's just the truth that took too long to tell. For a while we just sit there. The cafe hums around us, the sound of milk steaming, coins clinking, lives continuing. I wonder how many people are rehearsing their last conversations without knowing it. Then she says almost casually, I kept one of your letters. My heart stumbles. You did? It was the one about winter. You said frost isn't cold, it's memory refusing to die. She smiles faintly. I didn't understand it then. I do now. The truth moves inside me, restless. I look away. I didn't understand it either, I admit. We both laugh and it sounds like forgiveness. When we leave, she walks beside me down Harbor Street. The snow is soft, more water than ice. She loops her arm through mine, the way she used to when she wanted to keep me steady on uneven ground. You're shaking, she says. It's just the cold. It isn't, but she lets me have the lie. Love is mercy that looks the other way. At the corner, she stops. Come by tomorrow, she says. I'll make breakfast. Something simple. Simple sounds good. She smiles. It always was. She turns left. I keep straight. Our reflections split in opposite windows. I watch her until the crowd swallows her, until she becomes another color in the city. Back home, I write another list. Things I won't say. It's spreading faster. The mornings hurt more than the nights. When I close my eyes, I dream of her voice counting my pills. I'm afraid that when I go, she'll keep waiting anyway. I tear out the page and burn it in the sink. The paper shrinks, curls inward, and becomes light. Maybe that's all grief is, something that burns until you can mistake it for warmth. Later, I sit by the window again. The sea glows like tarnished silver, restless and familiar. The horizon hums with the promise of weather. Tomorrow feels close enough to touch, but I know better. Tomorrows are loans, and I've already spent most of mine. Still, when I close the notebook, I whisper a thank you to no one in particular for the coffee, for the cold, for the borrowed morning that, for a few hours, felt like living. The first thing I notice is the sound. It's sharper than pain, quieter than fear, the kind of sound that only exists inside the body. A small static under the ribs, a reminder that something invisible is working too hard. I wake before dawn. The room is blue and motionless. Breathing feels like pulling thread through a needle that's half closed. I count each inhale like proof that I still know how. The kettle refuses to boil. My hands won't stop shaking long enough to hold the cup. I set everything down and laugh quietly. It's easier than panic. When I finally drink, the tea tastes like coins. Outside, the street looks rinsed clean. The frost has returned, thin as regret. A man is walking his dog past the bakery, both of them wrapped in scarves. The world keeps rehearsing normal while I'm running out of script. By 10, I'm at Claire's door. She opens it wearing an apron dusted with flour. The smell of butter and oranges fills the air. "You're early," she says. I didn't want to miss breakfast. It's true, but not the way she thinks. I don't want to miss any morning, not anymore. Her apartment is small, bright, cluttered with paintbrushes and jars. There are half-finished canvases leaning against the wall, light and water, caught mid-motion. She hums while she cooks. I sit at the table, watching her move through sunlight, like someone who still belongs to it. "Coffee?" she asks. "Always." She pours carefully, like she's afraid of spilling time. When she turns, she notices the way I'm holding my wrist. "Are you okay?" "Just tired," I say. That word again. Tired, so easy, so untrue. She doesn't believe me. I can see it, but she doesn't push. Instead, she sets the plate down, a slice of toast, a tangle of berries, eggs soft and trembling. "Eat before it gets cold." I try. I really do. But halfway through, my stomach clenches, sharp and sudden. The room flickers. For a second, I'm outside of myself, watching a man pretending not to break. "Evan?" Her voice cuts through the haze. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I lie. "Just stood up too fast." She kneels beside me, hand on my arm, her face too close to hide from. "You're white as the wall," she whispers. "I'll be fine," I manage. "Happens sometimes." The truth is it happens every day now. The truth is every cell is writing its own goodbye letter. She doesn't move for a while. The air hums between us, fragile and human. When she finally speaks, her voice is soft. "You should see a doctor." I almost laugh again. Doctors are overrated. She narrows her eyes. "That's not funny." "You're right," I say. "It isn't?" She wants to ask more. I can feel it gathering behind her breath. But then something in her gaze softens. Maybe she remembers how much I hate pity. Maybe she just loves me in the kind of way that knows when to step back. After breakfast, we walk to the park. The trees are bare, branches black against the pale sky. She tells me about a new painting idea, waves made of handwriting, every curve a sentence no one finished. I tell her it sounds like something that could outlive us both. She laughs. Maybe that's the point. We sit on a bench near the frozen pond. Children throw stones across the ice. The sound is small, bright, temporary. She leans her head on my shoulder. The weight of it makes breathing hurt less. For a moment, I let myself forget everything. The illness, the rules, the clock hidden behind every word I say. For a moment, I just exist inside the warmth of someone who hasn't given up on me. When the wind picks up, she tucks her scarf around my neck. "You never dress warm enough," she says. I want to tell her I'm afraid of looking sick, that I keep choosing the version of myself she'd recognize. But all I say is old habits. She smiles, but her eyes shine in a way that frightens me. There's knowledge there, quiet, patient, waiting for confirmation. We part at the park gate. She waves, her hand small against the winter light. I wave back, holding the motion longer than necessary, memorizing the distance. At home, the mirror tells the truth I keep avoiding. My skin looks thinner, color draining like watercolor under rain. I take another pill, then another, until I can't remember which came first. I sit down, dizzy, and whisper, "Not yet," as if the words could make a difference. The notebook waits. I open it to a new page. Rule 5. If she ever asks, tell her everything, but only once. I close the cover gently, as if silence itself were fragile. That night, I dream of the sea flooding the cafe, tables floating, her laughter bubbling through the water. She's calling my name, but it sounds like someone else's. When I wake, the taste of salt is still on my tongue. It starts with a sound again. Not from my body this time, but from the world trying to speak louder than it should. The kettle whistles, high and nervous. Outside, a crow lands on the telephone wire, black against the gray morning. It stares straight through the window like it knows something I don't. Maybe it does. Birds always seem to know when something is about to end. Our late meeting, Claire. My hands won't cooperate with the buttons on my coat. I drop my keys twice. The mirror insists on honesty. My skin pale, eyes rimmed with fatigue. I tell my reflection, just one more day. It doesn't believe me. When I reach the street, the city feels slightly off balance, like a picture hung one nail too high. Cars rush past with the kind of urgency only the healthy understand. The crosswalk light flickers green, red, hesitation. Claire's already there, standing under the bakery awning, waving. She's holding 2 coffees, steam mixing with her breath. The sight of her steadies me, like gravity briefly remembering my name. "You okay?" she asks. "Yeah," I lie. "Just ran." She tilts her head, studying me the way artists study shadows. "You look like you didn't sleep. Didn't want to miss the morning." She smiles, but something guarded flickers in her eyes. She hands me the cup, and I realize she ordered mine exactly the same as before, half sugar, no cream. The small kindness hurts more than the cold. We walk toward the pier. The sea is restless, gray, and brilliant. Gulls circle, their cries sharp as glass. Claire talks about color palettes, deadlines, life things. I answer when I can, but the world keeps shrinking to the size of her voice. Then halfway across the crosswalk, it happens. The light changes. A car honks loud, immediate. The sound slices through me. My knees give out before I know why. Coffee spills, heat blooming across my hand. The asphalt rises fast. Claire's scream doesn't sound like her name for me. It sounds like loss learning how to speak. People rush forward. Hands grab, voices blur. My chest feels hollowed out, ribs echoing like a shell. Claire kneels beside me, face pale, eyes wide with something I can't bear to name. "Evan, hey, stay with me." Her voice trembles, breaks. "Please, look at me." I do. Because even if I'm going, I want the last thing I see to be her face. "I'm fine," I whisper. It's the worst lie I've ever told. The world fades at the edges, colors dripping like wet paint. Sirens swell somewhere far away. Claire's hand presses against my chest, steady but shaking. "You idiot," she whispers, tears falling. You said you were okay. I try to speak, but the words dissolve. There's only breath left, thin, fleeting, desperate. Then nothing. When I wake, everything is white. The ceiling hums softly. Machines blink in rhythm with something I no longer control. The air smells of antiseptic and endings. I try to move, but a weight anchors my arm. Claire's hand, asleep in mine. Her hair falls across her face, a quiet chaos. The coffee stain still marks her sleeve. She hasn't left. A nurse enters, checks the monitors, offers a polite smile that knows too much. You're lucky, she says. Could have been worse. Lucky. The word feels obscene. When she leaves, Claire stirs. Her eyes find me immediately. Relief floods her expression, then anger, then something gentler. You lied to me, she says. I want to argue, but truth beats me to it. I know. For how long? Since before I saw you again. She exhales, sharp, heavy. Why? I swallow. The words taste like metal. Because I wanted you to remember me without the sickness. Not as a man dying, but as someone who loved you right. Her eyes fill again. You think that's how love works? I look away. I thought it was mercy. She shakes her head. Mercy isn't hiding. Mercy is letting people choose whether to stay. Silence stretches between us. The machines keep their steady rhythm, the only heartbeat I can borrow. Then she reaches for my hand again, not gently this time, but firm. Grounding. You don't get to disappear alone, she says. Not again. The weight of her grip is the truest thing I've felt in months. Outside the window, the crow lands on the hospital ledge, black against the sun. It tilts its head as if to say, so you stayed after all. The first night after the hospital, I sleep sitting up. The bed feels too clean to belong to me, and the air tastes like medicine and apology. Claire has turned the guest room into something almost gentle, fresh sheets, a lamp that hums like a patient heart, a window that faces the sea. She insists I stay until I'm stronger. I tell her I will, though neither of us defines what stronger means anymore. Morning arrives like a stranger who knows the door code. Claire moves quietly through the apartment. The smell of toast travels before she does. When she knocks, I pretend I've been awake for hours. She pretends she believes me. Breakfast, she says, carrying a tray. Doctor's orders. The coffee is weaker, the kind meant for the half-alive. She sits across from me, folding her knees on the chair, watching to make sure I eat. I'm not fragile, I tell her. She smiles. You are, actually. You just hate witnesses. She's right. I hate the way compassion feels like standing in warm rain you didn't ask for. After breakfast, she paints, and I read the same paragraph of a book until the words stop pretending to mean anything. The world has slowed to the rhythm of recovery, measured, unglamorous, necessary. At noon, she brings a stack of letters. You got mail, she says. It's just bills, hospital forms, one postcard from a friend who doesn't know. Still, the sight of handwriting makes my chest ache. I used to believe letters could stop time. Now they only prove it's moving. In the afternoon, we walk by the shore. The sky is pale, the color of second chances. I move slowly. She matches my pace without comment. When the wind picks up, she takes my hand, not out of pity, but instinct. Do you ever think about after? I ask. After what? After us. After me. She frowns. You're still here. I know. But someday, she cuts me off gently. Then we'll think about it then. Her certainty is a small miracle. I borrow it for a few steps. We stop near the rocks where the tide collects shards of glass. She kneels to pick one up, holds it to the light. See? Time fixes things sometimes. The glass glows sea green, edges softened by years of motion. Or maybe, I say, it just hides the damage better. She glances at me. Maybe that's what healing is. That night we eat soup on the couch, the kind that takes longer to cool than to make. The TV murmurs an old film. She leans against me carefully, as if afraid to break the quiet. I can feel her heart beat through her shoulder. It's faster than mine. You ever wish we met later? She asks suddenly. No, I say. If later never came, we'd have nothing at all. She laughs softly. You always make tragedy sound romantic. Only because it is, I answer. The clock ticks louder as the night deepens. My body drifts between pain and peace, the line thin as paper. Claire falls asleep before the movie ends. I stay still, afraid to move her, afraid to wake the version of the world where she isn't leaning on me. When the credits roll, I whisper, we have time, even though I know we don't. But for once, the lie feels like faith. Hospitals make time obedient. It walks in circles here, hour to hour, cuff to cuff, beep to beep, until even fear learns the schedule. I arrive in the afternoon after another small collapse, and by evening I'm part of the furniture, labeled, plugged in, quietly humming. Claire sits by the window with her coat still on, like she hasn't decided whether to stay or run. She stays. She always does. A small radio on the sill whispers old songs that remember their choruses better than I remember sleep. They said overnight, I tell her. Observation. Observed by who? She asks a brittle joke. God? Machines? Machines, I say. They have better bedside manners. She smiles without showing teeth. The nurse tightens the cuff around my arm. Numbers bloom and vanish. I think about how every machine in this room knows more about me than most people I've loved. When the nurse leaves, Claire moves closer. She touches the seam of the blanket as if it were my hand. Do you want me to read? Play the radio, I say. Let someone else do the remembering. She turns the dial. Static, a snatch of trumpet, a voice from a year that doesn't know us. The song is almost tender. For a while we listen as if listening were a kind of prayer. Then the pain arrives in its usual quiet shoes. It doesn't demand, it suggests. My breath shortens. Claire hears it before I do. Tell me where, she says. In the old places, I answer. The ones that thought we were done. A pause. Her eyes dim and steady at the same time. I'm here, she says. When it passes, I'm left flatter, thinner, like paper you've erased too many times. Claire takes a long breath for both of us. You don't have to be brave, she says. I'm not, I tell her. I'm practiced. Night gathers in corners. The radio lowers its voice the way people do in churches. Claire stands to stretch, and a phone slips from her coat pocket onto the chair. My name glows on the lock screen, not in a message, but as the title of a folder. Claire? I say. She follows my gaze, hesitates, then unlocks it and hands it to me. I was going to wait, she says, but you asked for the radio. The folder is called for when I can't talk. I tap the first recording. My own voice answers, softer than I remember, as if I were leaning around a corner to speak to her without scaring the day. If you're hearing this, it means silence got here first. Don't be afraid of it, it's still me, just quieter. Claire looks at the window, not at me. I can see her reflection choosing not to cry. Another clip. People think time is a ruler. I think it's a cup. Some of us get chipped. We still hold what we can. Another. If you forget me, let it be for something heavy you needed to carry that day. I won't mind. I press stop. The room hums. A choir of cheap fluorescent stars. When did you? The night after the crosswalk, she says. You were asleep. I didn't know if there would be time to say what I wanted. I thought maybe you felt the same. I scroll. There are a dozen files. Dates. Times. Some only a minute long. Some long enough to outlast the evening. Play the one from last week, she says. I do. You taught me that staying isn't about years, it's about choosing the same person in every version of tomorrow. I hear myself swallow, then laugh. If I get fewer versions, I still choose you. Claire presses her sleeve to her mouth. The radio crackles, searching for a station that isn't leaving. Outside, an ambulance sighs like a door that remembered to be gentle. This isn't fair, she says. No, I agree, surprised at the ease of it. But look how much of it we got anyway. She turns the radio lower until the song becomes a thread we can tie our breathing to. Tell me something true, she says. Something you didn't put in a recording. I think. The truth is such a crowded room. I don't pray for more time, I say. I pray to use what I have like it was made for us. She nods as if I've returned a missing object. Okay, she whispers. Then I'll pray to notice it. The nurse returns with evening pills, a paper cup, water colder than forgiveness. After she leaves, Claire opens the window 2 inches. Winter leans in, careful, and takes a seat with us. The radio stutters, then steadies. For a moment, all 4 of us, man, woman, Winter, music, agree to be quiet. Will you sleep? She asks. If you do. Selfish, she says. Efficient, I answer. She laughs a small laugh that fixes nothing and helps anyway. The ward lights dim. Footsteps pass like polite weather. Claire adjusts the blanket, then sets the phone on the tray and hits record. Her voice is shy at first. For when I can't either, she says. For the mornings I ruin with my worry. For the nights I borrow from tomorrow. For the days you forget you're allowed to stay. She looks at me, seeking permission. I nod. Here is a truth you don't have to carry alone. I'm not staying because I'm brave, Evan. I'm staying because it's my favorite way to spend the time I have. She stops the recording. The radio song ends exactly then, as if it were waiting for her last word. In its place, a soft hiss rang without water, applause without hands. Static, I say. Silence with freckles, she says. We listen to it until the hiss becomes a room of its own. Somewhere down the hall, a monitor alarms. Somewhere closer, a baby cries a floor away from someone's leaving. Hospitals are honest that way, beginnings and ends sharing a ceiling. I close my eyes, not to leave her but to hold what she gave me where it can't spill. If there's another world, I say, not sure if it's out loud, let it be quiet enough for you to paint in peace. She answers like a vow, then I'll paint us a door. The radio clicks, fails to find a station, and rests. The quiet that follows isn't empty. It's full of everything we didn't waste. When the night nurse peeks in, she finds two people sleeping like a bargain the dark agreed to honor. Claire in her chair, my hand in hers, the window open, just enough for the winter to keep watch. The radio finally, mercifully quiet. Hospitals make time obedient. It walks in circles here, hour to hour, cuff to cuff, beep to beep, until even fear learns the schedule. I arrive in the afternoon after another small collapse, and by evening I'm part of the furniture, labeled, plugged in, quietly humming. Claire sits by the window with her coat still on, like she hasn't decided whether to stay or run. She stays. She always does. A small radio on the sill whispers old songs that remember their choruses better than I remember sleep. They said overnight, I tell her. Observation. Observed by who? She asks, a brittle joke. God? Machines? Machines, I say. They have better bedside manners. She smiles without showing teeth. The nurse tightens the cuff around my arm. Numbers bloom and vanish. I think about how every machine in this room knows more about me than most people I've loved. When the nurse leaves, Claire moves closer. She touches the seam of the blanket as if it were my hand. Do you want me to read? Play the radio, I say. Let someone else do the remembering. She turns the dial. Static, a snatch of trumpet, a voice from a year that doesn't know us. The song is almost tender. For a while we listen as if listening were a kind of prayer. Then the pain arrives in its usual quiet shoes. It doesn't demand, it suggests. My breath shortens. Claire hears it before I do. Tell me where, she says. In the old places, I answer. The ones that thought we were done. A pause. Her eyes dim and steady at the same time. I'm here, she says. When it passes, I'm left flatter, thinner, like paper you've erased too many times. Claire takes a long breath for both of us. You don't have to be brave, she says. I'm not, I tell her. I'm practiced. Night gathers in corners. The radio lowers its voice the way people do in churches. Claire stands to stretch, and a phone slips from her coat pocket onto the chair. My name glows on the lock screen, not in a message, but as the title of a folder. Claire? I say. She follows my gaze, hesitates, then unlocks it and hands it to me. I was going to wait, she says, but you asked for the radio. The folder is called For When I Can't Talk. I tap the first recording. My own voice answers, softer than I remember, as if I were leaning around a corner to speak to her without scaring the day. If you're hearing this, it means silence got here first. Don't be afraid of it, it's still me, just quieter. Claire looks at the window, not at me. I can see her reflection choosing not to cry. Another clip. People think time is a ruler. I think it's a cup. Some of us get chipped. We still hold what we can. Another, if you forget me, let it be for something heavy you needed to carry that day. I won't mind. I press stop. The room hums, a choir of cheap fluorescent stars. When did you? The night after the crosswalk, she says. You were asleep. I didn't know if there would be time to say what I wanted. I thought maybe you felt the same. I scroll. There are a dozen files, dates, times, some only a minute long, some long enough to outlast the evening. Play the one from last week, she says. I do. You taught me that staying isn't about years. It's about choosing the same person in every version of tomorrow. I hear myself swallow, then laugh. If I get fewer versions, I still choose you. Claire presses her sleeve to her mouth. The radio crackles, searching for a station that isn't leaving. Outside, an ambulance sighs like a door that remembered to be gentle. This isn't fair, she says. No, I agree, surprised at the ease of it. But look how much of it we got anyway. She turns the radio lower until the song becomes a thread we can tie our breathing to. Tell me something true, she says. Something you didn't put in a recording. I think the truth is such a crowded room. I don't pray for more time, I say. I pray to use what I have like it was made for us. She nods as if I've returned a missing object. Okay, she whispers. Then I'll pray to notice it. The nurse returns with evening pills, a paper cup, water colder than forgiveness. After she leaves, Claire opens the window 2 inches. Winter leans in, careful, and takes a seat with us. The radio stutters, then steadies. For a moment, all 4 of us, man, woman, Winter, music, agree to be quiet. Will you sleep? She asks. If you do. Selfish, she says. Efficient, I answer. She laughs a small laugh that fixes nothing and helps anyway. The ward lights dim. Footsteps pass like polite weather. Claire adjusts the blanket, then sets the phone on the tray and hits record. Her voice is shy at first. For when I can't either, she says, for the mornings I ruin with my worry, for the nights I borrow from tomorrow, for the days you forget you're allowed to stay. She looks at me, seeking permission. I nod. Here is a truth you don't have to carry alone. I'm not staying because I'm brave, Evan. I'm staying because it's my favorite way to spend the time I have. She stops the recording. The radio song ends exactly then, as if it were waiting for her last word. In its place, a soft hiss rain without water, applause without hands. Static, I say. Silence with freckles, she says. We listen to it until the hiss becomes a room of its own. Somewhere down the hall, a monitor alarms. Somewhere closer, a baby cries a floor away from someone's leaving. Hospitals are honest that way, beginnings and ends sharing a ceiling. I close my eyes, not to leave her but to hold what she gave me where it can't spill. If there's another world, I say, not sure if it's out loud, let it be quiet enough for you to paint in peace. She answers like a vow. Then I'll paint us a door. The radio clicks, fails to find a station, and rests. The quiet that follows isn't empty. It's full of everything we didn't waste. When the night nurse peeks in, she finds 2 people sleeping like a bargain the dark agreed to honor. Claire in her chair, my hand in hers, the window open just enough for the winter to keep watch. The radio finally, mercifully, quiet. The pain wakes me like a bad habit. It's not loud, just insistent, a small pulse beneath the ribs that refuses to be ignored. The clock says 2:13 a.m., a time that belongs to ghosts and promises you meant to keep. Claire stirs on the couch, blanket tangled around her legs. "Evan?" "I'm fine," I whisper, which is what you say when it's exactly the opposite. The air in the apartment is heavy with the smell of medicine and rain. I try to stand, but the floor moves first. Claire is already beside me, steadying my shoulders with both hands. Her fingers are cold, but her voice isn't. "You need the pills," she says. "I already took them." Then we go. "Where?" "The pharmacy's open all night." She says it like a command disguised as mercy. And so we go, two people chasing the promise of a light that never really goes out. Outside, the streets shine with yesterday's rain. Street lamps reflect in the puddles like small, obedient moons. Claire walks a half step ahead, her shadow crossing mine as if shielding me from the wind. For a moment, I imagine that's what love really is. Not rescue, not cure, just walking someone through the hours that hurt the most. The pharmacy glows like a mistake that refuses to sleep. Fluorescent light hums against the quiet, too bright, too clean, like it's trying to convince the night that everything can still be fixed. We stand by the counter, waiting for the pharmacist to find the right bottle. Claire keeps one hand on my arm, counting my breaths the way you'd count seconds in a thunderstorm. "You should have told me it was this bad," she says softly. "I didn't want to make it real." "It's real anyway." She's right, and I hate that truth fits so easily between us now. Behind the counter, a radio plays something fragile, piano keys lost in static. The pharmacist slides the medicine across the glass. Claire pays without asking the price. When we step back into the street, the air feels sharper, honest. I take the small white bag from her and shake it lightly. "My souvenir," I say. She doesn't laugh. "It's your second chance." "Same thing, maybe?" We walk in silence, the pavement glittering with bits of rainlight. My body hurts less, but only because she's holding part of it for me, the weight, the fear, the stubborn hope. By the time we reach the park, the sky has begun to fade from black to that color. Between names, something not yet dawn, not quite night. The benches glisten with dew. The swings hang still, waiting for children who haven't been invented yet. Claire hands me a cup of hot chocolate from a vending cart. The steam curls upward, fragile as forgiveness. We sit without speaking. Our shadows lie across the path like two pages that forgot how to turn. "How's the pain?" she asks at last. "Still there," I say. "But so are you. It evens out." She nods. Then we stay until it stops mattering which hurts more. A soft wind moves through the trees, gathering pieces of the night. Somewhere, a bird mistakes the streetlight for sunrise and begins to sing anyway. I watch Claire cradle her cup with both hands. The glow of it paints her face in amber. For a heartbeat, she looks almost untouched by time, like the world pressed pause just for her. And maybe for me too. When the first real light touches the pond, it scatters into 100 small silvers. Claire leans her head on my shoulder. "You ever think," she whispers, "that maybe this is what surviving really looks like?" I smile. Messy. Quiet. Beautiful, anyway. We stay until the sun clears the rooftops, and for a while, neither of us needs to be brave. The sea hasn't changed. It still breathes in slow, even waves like someone sleeping beside the world. It's been 3 months since the morning the radio went quiet, and still I wake to the sound of static in my head, soft, patient, almost kind. The apartment feels smaller now, but not emptier. His books remain where they were, spines curved from too much reading. His mug on the counter with a faint ring of dust where the coffee used to live. I water the plants every Sunday, the way he asked, even though they seem to survive mostly on memory. Today is the first day of my exhibition. I name it The Weight of Ordinary Days. People will come and stare at colors I can't explain, and maybe they'll call it art, but all I really painted was the sound of staying. Before leaving, I check the drawer by the desk. His notebook still waits there, closed but not finished. Inside the last page reads, 10. If you have to move on, take the silence with you. It knows the way. I press my fingers to the paper, and for a moment it feels like holding a hand that still remembers how. The gallery empties slowly, like a tide going out. Footsteps fade. The lights hum softer, and what remains is the echo of people pretending not to cry. I stay until the last visitor leaves. Only one painting is left uncovered, the unfinished one Evan never signed. In the corner, the old radio sits on a stool, its dial glowing faintly, a heart refusing to quit. When I switch it on, there's no song, just a faint hiss, like the sea breathing through static. Then, between the noise, a voice I know. If there's another world, let it be quiet enough for you to paint in peace. It's not loud, not even clear, but it's him. It's always been him. I close the gallery door and walk toward the harbor. The evening air tastes like salt and dusted oranges. The scarf he left me flutters once, then settles against my neck. Down by the water, the horizon burns in silver and blue. For a moment, the waves fold themselves into shapes I almost recognize. Shoulders, breath, the outline of a man who promised to stay just a little longer. I take off my shoes and step into the surf. The water is cold, but not cruel. Each ripple touches my skin like a sentence I haven't finished reading. Evan, I whisper. The sea doesn't answer, but the wind shifts, carrying a sound like laughter made of light. Above me, gulls wheel through the last amber of the day. One of them dives low, a glint of silver thread trailing from its wing. When it rises again, the horizon blurs, and for an instant, the sky and sea become one vast canvas. I raise my hand and trace a circle in the air, the same motion I used to make when calling him home. This time the light answers, a soft radiance blooming from nowhere, painting the water, the sand, my skin. And then I understand, he never left. He just changed form, from voice to silence, from body to color, from love to light. When the sun finally sinks, the world doesn't darken. It glows. I whisper, almost smiling, we still have time. And somewhere between the waves, a quiet voice's voice answers, always.